drifting for me, the first time like seeing anything of drifting was Nick, myself, and Joe Dryden. We actually had a show in Aruba, which is this little tiny island, ABC Islands, next to Curacao. And we went out there just to do a simple stunt show. You know, of course, every city you go to, they put you and they have you meet the locals, and the local stunt riders come out. So their local stunt riders weren't really stunt riders, they're drifters.
And down there, all the islanders ride around on stretch bikes 12, 18, 24 inches over with crappy takeoff tires, and the roads are like ice. Just the slickest roads I've ever ridden on.
All these guys on these big, giant, like extended swing on bikes, just drifting sideways in the opposite lane, oncoming cars come in. These guys are in flip-flops, half the wheel in the dirt. It's crazy. It's like a drug, it's like an addiction. Like you see it and you gotta have it and you wanna do it. So, you know, we're already doing it on a small scale like stunt drifting in lots and whatnot, but that high speed, like, I don't know, it just seemed like the man's way to do it.
And so we came back home after doing a show down there, and the first thing I wanted to do was build a high horsepower bike and enjoy the fun. Again, like we just kind of borrowed this island style, so it was a big, huge stretch. I think our first bike was 12 over with a 240 kit. We built this big, stretched monster of a drift bike with a strut, not even a shock. And that thing wouldn't get traction for anything. And that was the birth of high-speed drifting here in the U.S. It's not like I invented anything, I just saw it on the islands, and I like to be an idiot too, so I brought it over.
My first experience with a drift bike was for Motorcycle vs. Car Drift Battle 2. We went up to Oregon with Icon Motorsports, and we built two Triumph Speed Triples. We're linked up with Roaring Toys again. They built us a couple of 6-inch over swing arms and just jumped on them. I think the bikes had 0 miles. Like, we literally unlocked the ECUs to the bikes the day before we actually shot the video. So these were 0-mile bikes, just going to get the rev limiter whipping and just get the crap kicked out of them. And sure enough, they held up, you know, and it was the craziest addiction I've ever had. And since then, we've just been kind of upgrading the bikes.
And so then I took it upon myself to get together with Fuel Forged in Las Vegas and kind of join forces, and we collaboratively built our first turbocharged bike. There's never enough power in drifting, period.
So this bike, which is the Triumph Street Triple, which is the last drift bike from our Motorcycle vs. Drift Battle 4, is basically a Garrett turbo strapped on a bike. Nick and his team over at Garage 7 in Vegas fabbed up all the header work, all the turbo manifold, put the turbos on, took it to Dynojet, tuned everything, and basically we get 180 horsepower at the wheel.
We run real aggressive race Auto Masters, but stock calipers because they do the job real well. We don't really have to mess with suspension much. It's primarily just the bolt-on turbo kit that makes these bikes able to slide, and the Triumph bikes are such an aggressive, well-handling bike out of the gate that all they really need is more power. So it's not a bad job to do to have to build fast bikes.
We started off with a long 12-inch swing arm. That became 6 inches, that became 4 inches, and the last drift video we actually did on the stock wheelbase. So we've kind of taken the extension, needing the extension out of the equation, which the extension just basically slows down the snap.
It's getting more dynamic, and I think that as we progress what we're doing with sport bike drifting, that we're going to open up a lot more doors, and we're going to start doing full transitions, and it's going to be a marriage between what our drifting is now and then also some flat track style, some supermoto style entries. It should get pretty interesting over the next year or two.
It's more about just feeling like raw power in a bike and just sliding and just knowing that like you could eat shit at any moment, but living through it, you know, like that. I don't know, it's just satisfying to me.
I think in the progression I'm going to try to put heavy electronics on the bikes, build the motors a little bit stronger than they are, and then really go for, you know, that 400 and some odd horsepower, or at the very least at the wheel 250 plus on a 600 class bike, with anti-lag and with all the electronics that'll let me abuse the living shit out of the bike without having it ever talk back from a power standpoint. Fun times.
More power, bigger tracks, bigger turns, bigger slides, bigger smoke, bigger horsepower, and bigger nuts. Yeah, I think that's about it.